Wedding project number 4. It was actually this is a recap really of the hypertufa projects that I did. 4-parter if you want to see that in complete. But here's how it began. Mixing 2 parts of sifted peat moss and 2 parts of perlite or vermiculite with 1.5 parts Portland cement. And then I added 3/4 of a cup of concrete adhesive to the 2 quarts of water. Now that's for the amount of mix that I had done here. So for complete mixing instructions, I would refer you to hypertufa video part 1. To make my hypertufa pumpkin, I used a pair of pantyhose, one leg of a pair of pantyhose, and started to fill it with the hypertufa mix. Continued to fill, making it bigger and bigger until it was the size I wanted. To create the ribs, I used rubber bands, large rubber bands. And then for the stem, I found a stick out in the yard that was just the right size, I thought. Now to make the I do, I had purchased these little letters at Hobby Lobby, and I thought, well, if I could shove them down in there between the hypertufa and the hose, that maybe it could leave an imprint that I could later paint, which it did work. Except I didn't have my brain on because I had the I backwards. At this point I thought, I'm not sure the rubber bands are going to make a big enough indentation, so I got some rope and also tied the rope right in line with the rubber bands. It was all done and ready to cure, so it went into a plastic bag and went into the house in a cool, dark room for 2 days. After 2 days, I brought it back outside and was unwrapping. I'm complaining here, chastising myself about having the eye backwards because I was really hoping that I was going to be able to fix it. The first step was I used one of those little green scrubby pads to kind of act like sandpaper. Could have used sandpaper, but I didn't want to go down to the basement to get it. I'm using a wire brush here to kind of rough up the texture and give it some texture a little bit, and then kind of smoothing that texture out again with my green scrubby pad. And then I began carving. You know, at this point it's still fairly wet and you have little crumbles of the hypertufa mix that come off. I used those little wet crumbles and mixed it with some water to kind of fill in and straighten out my I do letters, and eventually I carved the I, the little curlicue on the I, the correct direction, and filled in the one that was incorrect. And there we have it. Goes back into the plastic bag and cures for 2 weeks. Here I'm using concrete acid stains to stain all of my projects. This isn't the I do pumpkin. I don't think I recorded it, at least I couldn't find it. But I used Concrete Camouflage's color of faded linen, and I did it 100%. Here's the I do pumpkin with water on it because I wanted to see what it would look like. Whatever it looks like damp is what it would look like sealed. So now that it is completely dry, I'm applying a sealer. Again, complete instructions on all of that would be in Hypertufa Part 4. Now, to finish it out, I needed to paint my I do letters, so I mixed a combination of acrylic paints, white and a little ochre yellow, because I just wanted a pale yellow, kind of like the flesh of a pumpkin. Didn't want it orange, so I went with pale yellow. Painstakingly painting it here. You know, it's kind of hard to paint on concrete. It's very bumpy and rough, and you have to keep working to fill all the little holes. I used a wet paper towel occasionally and a kitchen knife. And actually, I was able to use that knife to kind of carve the edges, the outer edges of the letters, just to give it a little more indentation and definition. And it's all done. Just have to wait for the wedding now. As always, thanks for watching. Have a good one.